Welcome back, punters, to the Punters Academy. Good morning, John Walter. Thank God, Cup week's over. We're probably all feeling the effects of it. We're all a bit tired. You look a bit tired, John. I believe that there was a important event on the weekend, and the Pan Pac Masters bowling tournament. And we're talking about actual 10-pin bowling, not bowling for P. Daly or others.
That's right. I've been bowling for 30 years, but only 10-pin bowling for a little while.
Yeah. So, of course, Top Sport, our sponsor, put a little market up, John, I believe, on the Pan Pac Masters. Why don't we bring that up? Have a look.
Where is it? Let's have if I can find it. I've already lost it already.
Here we go.
I thought he was a nice man, Tristan. I've been in his corner all along, then he does this to me.
Walt to be tuned into Sky Channel mid-game. 10's on, eh? There you go.
And that was
to blame the lane oil pattern.
You're collecting on the lane. You're collecting on the Sky Channel. That was not even before, like pre-warm-up, I was into that. Winning the Masters, 26 is not looking good for you, but you're still alive. 710's never had one, so no good there. But you can take... I'm out of the tennis, gone, done your money cold, and perfect game. Still alive, but I wouldn't want to be holding a ticket. So very funny from Tristan, too good. Very, very funny. But only collecting the $1.10. But I'm telling you, if you could have, I would have sold everyone. I would have sold the house, put the lot on the $1.10. I got called disrespectful. Actually, it's a funny story. The bloke said, I was very disrespectful watching racing while we're bowling. I'm like, oh, so you better get used to it, mate. Well, it's going to be a few more to come. With all due respect. And some of the stories these blokes came up with, interesting crew that follow the Pan Pac Masters around each year. Yeah, disrespectful, certainly racing was a misdemeanor, let's put it that way. But anyway, it was good fun. But I needed it after 2 weeks. I said it back on Saturday night. I said, I'm just cooked. I don't even know how to relax, wind down. So I think, absolutely destroying myself yesterday, bowling the lights, not bowling the lights out, but bowling all day sort of knocked the edge off. It was good.
No, I was pretty keen to crack the Shiraz Open Saturday night, I can tell you. It's been a long week. Okay, let's talk about Rosehill Saturday. Track was good, which saw the on-paces dominate throughout the card. He pretty much had to be within about a length of the lead to have much chance. Those horses outperformed significantly. It was pretty obvious after watching a couple of races, so hopefully people cottoned on and adjusted accordingly, and worked out a good day for me. But there were a couple of, a number of heavily backed horses that perhaps didn't run to expectations as well. So we'll talk about race one, the 1,300 metre midway, above average tempo here, John. Why don't you walk us through it?
Yeah, I think pretty good ride. And as you know, as it turns out, the pattern certainly helped. The only really query was, a solid 1,300. The pattern helped this horse, but not going too slow. The key, pretty one-pace type that's quite strong and bit of a nothing race. I thought, this out of it, the horse that's last more Sundays sort of dragged out of the race. Always gets back anyway, but it looks like it's kind of ready, complete forgive. And
lost the plate too.
Yeah, funny horse to catch though. Certainly needs everything to suit to try to want to entertain it, but it does. You normally get a price. And the horse that sat outside the leader, I don't, even though it was an on-pace advantage, I don't think it's that sort of horse, a steero. I think it's a horse that needs to be cuddled up and sprint. So for it to be sitting outside the leader with a bit of pressure outside and in and battling away late, I think it's ready now. I think he kind of set out first up that it wasn't wound up, and I think the 2 runs back probably needed. Not sure about the rest. I think they're all, the ones down the outside you can be forgiving of, no doubt, but their pack chase is a little bit at this stage.
Just on the winner there, John, the saddle slipped, of course, shortly after the start, so T-Berry's done a good job there. Icy Things got held up between the 4 and the 2, damaged, suffered, or was lame actually, 2 out of 5, so forget it, went round. May not have been suited to by the firmer ground, they're saying, which I would concur with. Not much to take out of the race.
Bloody good effort, actually. I totally forgot about that, to be honest. Like, it's nearly impossible. You can see how he's got his knees like tied into it, like actually an incredible effort to be able to look as good as he has on that horse and ride it out as well as he has.
He's done a great job. I actually had a slight query over running the 1300 strong, but obviously with the pattern to help, great ride, good horsemanship. Okay, let's get on to the highway.
Tommy Berry are out for 6 months and 3 days. Race 2.
He did it a couple of times, Saturday. Average tempo in the highway here, John. Sir Ravenelli, they're saying wasn't suited by the quick backup, and it's now going for a spell. Zadig missed the kick, dozen lengths, so it's
the worst placer of horses I've ever seen in my life, Terry Evans. It does not run 1400, Sir Ravenelli. If you want to make sure it's not going to run 1400, you ride it forward. So I know it came up lame, but I'd be very, very wary of this horse getting to this distance in the future, and forgiving it because it pulled up lame here. Anyhow, Zadig stayed in the gates just about, didn't it? So forgive it. What else?
Yeah, forget it. What else is there to talk about in the race?
This horse back last. She's what they call super extreme. It's a bit of a new horse to these sorts of races, whereas the rest of them are all beaten up. I thought it was a race where nothing was really well suited, as in like they're pretty average horses, not suited 1400. The ride from the apprentice that wins the race wins the race, to be fair. Like I think it drew outside 15 or something like that, and to slot in 1-1. It was clearly the best horse in the race, but if anyone had it mapped 1-1, I'm pretty sure they had it a lot shorter than $13 in their market. This horse back here is the horse, super extreme, third last, just runs up as many backsides as you possibly can. No pace assistance, really. Like they do slow down late, but it's a pretty average race, but it wasn't a bad run.
Slow last 400 there, 4.4 lengths below. So that sort of flattered those horses a bit, I think, running on. It and Brazen, what's it called? Brazen.
Impact. Yeah.
Impact. They both ran on that race. I mean, compared to the others,
there you can see he's interrupted a bit. He like checks and he actually looks like he's got a bit of something in his legs, where the rest of them are all grinding, aren't they? And this horse looks like it actually. I'm pointing at my screen rather than this screen, but it looks like it's actually got something. So it's the only horse I'll be looking at trying to find in a race like this. Probably want it back to Randwick though, not Rosehill.
Yeah. Okay, let's get on to the staying event. Of course, the late scratching of King Frankel at the barriers meant we saw interesting here, John. If you just want to freeze it there, we missed a kick there. But the gate 2, of course, was originally occupied by King Frankel, I believe. They've scratched it. Of course, they haven't changed the gates yet. The racing results, or the official racing results, suggest that Essential Sky and all those horses outside it came in one gate as a result of that scratching. So just something. Why do I think about these things? I don't know, because it affects everything. Essential Sky, of course, not suited by the slow tempo. It came off a very fast run race prior and probably didn't handle the ground being that firm. Sound of Cannons might have been a touch unlucky, got held up there a touch and just got beat. But what do you say, John? Anything to talk about?
Nothing race. It was like a track gallop. The leader kind of had to win. If he didn't win, he would have been highly disappointing. And Sound of Cannons is probably the run of the race, which has got to scare most people. I think there was quite a bit of money for it, to be fair. So they expected a good performance. I think it's run like the fastest last 800 of the day. So it's hard to knock the...
Oh, the best last 800 rating of the day. Let's not
rating of the day. Sorry, yep. So it's he's ready to do something, but he's a horse that doesn't like to win that often. So for me, it's just a
it's a hard horse to follow. You'd be hard pressed trying to make a quid out of this animal.
Yes.
You can have it. So I can't suggest anything out of this race going forward, really. In fact, it was one of those days. I think, as it turns out, I've only got one horse to follow on the meeting.
I've only got a couple, and they're pretty scary.
Let's talk about. Are we still talking?
No, we'll brass that race. It's not even worth watching. There's just nothing happened.
Let's talk about the 1800 average tempo, above average by the time they got to the 600. They did quicken up noticeably between the 8 and the 6, about a 4.2 length speed up there. And of course, Tyler Schiller got the job done. Bless him on Willinga Ruffio.
Yeah, I think what you've pointed out there is like highly relevant, because he kind of won the race in that spot, didn't he? He sort of controlled it to the 800, which he hasn't done on this horse at any of his starts. Then he's put him to the sword. The horse he put to the sword was Naval Seal, who's, looks like it's got a bit keen outside leader and, maybe a bit vulnerable. So he's a little bit vulnerable. Then he's put him to the sword early and he's exposed him. It was the first time this horse has been well ridden for a while, and did look strange that it wasn't favourite. And even it was soft the way the track was racing. It was pretty strange. Poor ride on Just a Jedi again. The poor horse just keeps getting carved up, and it was a good effort, but he's not winning out of turn either now. And like going forward, I'm not sure what to do with his form, but just a bit of a nothing race. What you see is what you get here.
Yeah, nothing to suggest there. Got the result. So happy with that. Okay, let's move on to race 5, 1,200 metres there, below average tempo. Once this goes past, here we go. Bend a knee.
Yeah, I got told it's not. It doesn't look. It looked horrible in the yard, like horrible. I'd just sack him completely until he shows something. I think he's one of those horses that he may just be cooked, and if he's not, I'd rather be against him until he does. Like, he's not the sort of horse I'd want to ride to my grave, if you know what I mean. I just think he may be a bit of a nightmare of a horse at the moment.
Well, listen to this. Regan Bayliss reported that the gelding, which was racing first up today, was not suited by a particularly fast tempo in this race. Regan, get a job, buddy. You're kidding yourself.
That's that doesn't surprise me though. That's pretty scary. And I actually think this is a really good race to dissect to a certain degree, because I think the slow tempo. Well, the ride won the race on Foxfighter, racing closer in a slow speed. I've still got a query over this guy running a strong 12, and I know he's won here today, but I think the slow tempo and being able to out sprint horses in front of him that were all pretty one-paced. The horse is obviously airborne. But we saw it a few times, like She's a Belter the same. Slow tempo probably aided them a little bit.
I think also the firm track is really saw this horse improve. So
massive. And I think this horse is a group horse over 1,000, 1,100, and especially the way he's racing. But he needs that, like you say, a fast tempo, ideally over 1,000, 11 on a dry track is what I think would be his absolute optimum. Getting away with beating horses here over 12 with a good ride and a slow tempo on a fast track is sort of what I think happened here. I'd just be a little bit worried about him going to a fast run 1,200 where he sort of looked like he was going to get 2 or 3 lengths further back and have to sustain a run. I think it would be a different story. But he's absolutely flying. There wasn't much behind, was there?
Well suited in that race.
He was, and did anything do anything? I thought a couple of Matty Dale's horses might run okay, but Toretto, he kind of, I guess he wasn't suited the way that the race was run. I thought he could run a race, but he got further back than I thought he would. Definitely not a horse to follow. This is one of the roughest 2-year-old races I've ever seen.
Well, don't believe your eyes here, punters. It's an absolute joke. If you think that this horse was running on strongly, they absolutely walked here the last 400. About 10 lengths below, very poor last section, last 200, poor also. The horse has done a decent effort in terms of overcoming the obstacle, but it's gone back basically about as good as it went on debut. I was almost tempted to pull the button on this, but I decided against it in this race. But I think we mentioned it the other day on the show, and I said it was the only horse I could back in the race, but that was mainly due to raises and the gate that it drew. So,
and you were very happy at this point that you didn't pull the trigger.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and I'm scared. So the other odds at the start's obviously important. The other source that I think is quite interesting out of this race, and unfortunately it's a run-on horse as well, is the one drawn widest. So Gary Portelli, and the only reason I'm being super forgiving, I think it could race a lot closer, a lot handier if it does draw a gate. He's like forcibly taken this horse back. No doubt in the world, the tempo of the race and all the ruck up in front helped the back markers to a certain degree. Look at them run off their feet.
Yeah, solid tempo. Misty Legend and Shine.
That he just knew he couldn't come wide. A lot of them fell for the 3-card trick and thought, they're going that quick that will come wide. But he was smart enough to understand that that wasn't the case on Saturday. He does this so well. Just pokes up. 1 in 10 he doesn't get the run, and everyone pace him that he's a spastic. But 9 times out of 10 he's so patient and picks the right time to make his run that he saved so much ground and actually gave his horse a winning chance. And I think the ride certainly was the difference. This is the horse down the outside flying trapeze that I thought was pretty good, being able to sustain a run right to the line out really wide where nothing really came. But the winner's obviously a good horse.
Misty Legend.
I don't like the idea of this race. Yeah. Who's that?
John? Misty Legend and Shine Your Light both lame in the race.
And Misty Legend was right up on outside leader in the brutal race. So, complete forgive for it.
Well, I'll tell you what, this was the quickest mid-race section of the day. Absolutely cooked the leader. Get along. Yeah.
And this horse here looks like it's. I actually thought I didn't get a yard report, but you kind of can see here. So this horse looks like a 3 or 4 year old. This one looks like a 3 or 4 year old. This looks like the goddamn pony that they put in the one next door to keep company on the float. So it's done a good job sitting behind speed, getting to the front. Which horse was it? Can't remember the name. Was it Infatuation? So it's done a good job. And it looks like if he puts it away now and it comes back and develops, it could be an improver. The leader did a good job. It's a tricky race. I just hate that they they have $1 million race or whatever this is for 2-year-olds pre-Christmas. To me, it feels like a race that they keep horses up for, rush horses to. It's an incentive to cook your 2-year-old before Christmas. I understand it. If you win or run well, you're sort of guaranteed to slip a run, but. Yeah, I don't like the idea of it, and I find it very difficult to sort of line the form up. It's a bit of a nightmare race.
Okay, let's talk about the Hot Danish. Very slow tempo here. Sam at Clipperton went way too slow on.
This is weird, isn't it? How would you believe that coming this stage of the day you could run a race sort of 12 lengths plus below to the 600, like the way this track was racing? Quite incredible that this would happen.
Yeah, well, obviously, given the way the race was run, it cost it the race, I felt. Lavish Girl, of course, talking from a kick. Samut, forget it, went round, I suppose.
Just the worst placed horse in the history of the world. Yeah.
What else do you say about the race?
Sat wide, didn't it? Sat wide, no cover. Obviously, slow tempo helped it a little bit, but wide, no cover there was diabolical for the day. Winner's gone huge. Second horse run well. Electric Girl completely unsuited by a slow speed. More Secrets, I think, was flattered a little bit by a slow tempo. I think it's the sort of horse that would appreciate a slow run 1400, and I'll be a little bit careful with it. Obviously, the run was good, but just be a little bit careful that it was, smothered away right there behind She's a Belter and sort of steams up behind him. Looks like it was a bit unlucky, but I think it was the one most suited by the slow tempo. Anything else?
Yeah, I think it's come back well enough, that horse. No, not much else.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. You know what I'm sort of getting at, that it just looks like it's a bit more unlucky than it. I think if they went quick, it's probably the one that, or even tempo, it might not have got as close to them. It's a tricky one, and the horse is way out wide, are certainly disadvantaged in comparison to where More Secrets was in the run and all that kind of thing. But I think the form's pretty solid. And even this, what's this import? I don't know what the hell it's doing in this race. What's the thing of bodies in the race? I don't know if it's going to stay here or what the heck it's going to do. What's it called? Divine Magic. It went okay. Sort of got going again through the line. Even the horse that ran last, what did they run like? What are your fourth fastest last 200 rating for the day to run last? Jermaine, it's going to be... and it's the widest runner. So, yeah, I think form will come out of this race. I think this is actually a really good race. It's going to be hard to dissect it all. I'll be going through one by one, looking closely at who you think was suited, not suited. And, next time around, I think most of those horses are ready to win races if placed well.
Yeah, okay, let's get on to the 5 Diamonds. Ellsberg did the job again. Of course, it was the one advantaged by the map. And Law of Indices, forget it, went round.
Holy crap.
well, I shouldn't say forget it went round. I mean, it got beaten a length and a quarter, but I think it cost it the race sitting there wide, no cover from the 1200. Ayrton, disappointing. Uncle Bryn has been galloped on. That was a horse I was with early, around about that $9, $8.50 when we talked about that the other day on the show, and it was well backed. Started around 9-2. What else do we have to say about the race? Ayrton, do we sack it?
The winner's gone a lot better. Yeah, I think Ayrton's finished, but
well, the winner's actually gone back a little bit.
It's sat outside of fast speed though. They've gone a lot quicker here than I would have ever believed they would, and they've run a lot. There's a lot of merit in the race on time. So the winner's gone much better than I anticipated it possibly could. Obviously, got favours that Law of Industries got absolutely carved, and Uncle Bryn's obviously way back in the field, given no chance and galloped on as well. So, what do you do with the race? I'm not really sure, because to the eye, I thought, well, he's just absolutely controlled this on Ellsberg and got away with it. And Sabak, who's, a nice enough horse, couldn't run it down. But then you look at the time, it says that it's actually done a lot more. Law of Industries is obviously absolutely flying dead stiff. Drew a gate, would have won for sure. Can't really sack Ayrton because it sat outside this fast speed. And Sabak was absolutely flying before this. So maybe the form's actually good, and Ellsberg's just it's gone better than I expected. There's no doubt. No matter, even with the tempo, with the pattern, it's run a lot better. And even your little friend up the fence there, I think, ran well. It's flying diamond.
Well, he wasn't my friend on Saturday, but
no, but he's still poking along all right. He's still poking along for another race in his near future.
Okay, let's talk about race 9. Heavily backed here, below average early and then average tempo. I Am Me, who had trialled pretty well, I thought. Certainly they found it, and it started a very solid favourite to beat probably the only other hope in the race, Coco Rocks.
Who's a horse you'd love to chase most of the time. It just looked a matter of whether it would get out from behind the leader. And that was about the only question mark, really. I thought it just looked so well placed, didn't it? And actually, probably more vulnerable if it led, because it may get attacked and annoyed. As soon as he took the sit, I was happy. And, obviously just relying upon the split, got that race over. Pretty nice horse. Very well placed.
Your mate T. Berry.
Yeah, well, this one wasn't hard, was it? Well, he drew 1.
No, that's right.
But, no, did nothing wrong on it, that's for sure. And got the break when he needed to. I thought Devil Triangle might run a little bit better than what it did, but it was way up in class too. The winner's the only progressive horse in this race for mine. Coco Rocks is honest but limited, and the winner's the only one that's got any serious upside. Actually, there was a horse in that race I didn't think was horrible. Miss Ostend, just dragged out of the race, eligible for much easier races, and I thought it made quite a gallant try, sort of pulled wide, made some ground down the middle here, and gets beaten quite a fair distance, so pretty well hidden, just completely unsuited, and was quite solid. I think it only started like $15, $16 the fare. I think, I think it sort of went better than it looked. It has to be well placed as well. Miss Ostend down the outside.
Okay, let's get on to what have we got? The last race, haven't we? Or second last race? Hang on. That is the last race now. 1,400 metres, average tempo, shorts. Bless it. Had a small bet on it, but and the money muncher, I'm Lethal, second.
Yeah. I was amazed. This was just crying out to be run at 500 lengths above standard, wasn't it? Like the way the track was racing, everything, you just expected them to come out like scalded cats here, and they all come out looking over their shoulders. And it's not as if he's like gone slow. He's actually ridden the horse. Who rode this winner?
Average tempo, Tom Sherry.
Tom Sherry. Just absolutely controlled it perfectly. Didn't go too slow, and just left alone. And another one of those races where the chasers were, for mine, one pace sort of horses. So he's got a bit of a buffer behind him. And then you've got, like, as you said, horses like I'm Lethal chasing. I actually think the race is not too bad, as in a barrier trial for the horses out the back. I think Ton of Grit, Spangler, which is the grey coming wide, Madame Rouge, which was cast wide throughout. they were all pretty good runs, and I'm Lethal's the one that's just sucked up on the fence, done nothing, poked up the fence, never going to win. It's the one for me that I'd be happy to continue to be against, and I think the ones down the outside are going better than they said. So Ton of Grit's coming through the middle in the Chautauqua colours. Madame Rouge just peaks on its runs. It's a sort of horse that needs to draw a gate and dash at them for 200 metres, I think. And I thought Spangler was really good down the outside, especially through the line. It's a horse that I think's come back and's got a bit of upside.
Yeah, on Ton of Grit, I think third up, next start. This third up was second up then, wasn't it?
It was second up. So, yeah, but similar first up, just given no chance, just dragged out of the race. And so, yeah, it's just had basically 2 barrier trials back.
I think third up, inside draw, track with a bit of sting out would I'd be interested in the right.
Is that because he's won third up last 2 preparations, Paul? Is that why you've got a little sneaky suspicion he might be ready to go now?
Oh, just in terms of its ratings profile and the fact that it has improved third up, and it just needs the right draw.
That's stable.
And preferably a track with a tiny little bit of sting out. Okay, my only horse to follow from the meeting really is Law of Indices. John?
What does it go? This poor bastard, he just can't win a race out here. That was his race, wasn't it? Just needed to draw a gate. I thought Spangler, Ton of Grit, and Madame Rouge could be all followed out of that last race. Miss Ostend in an average race, Supreme, Extreme in a midway, what's it called, a highway or something. Preferably back to Randwick, and I think Estero in a midway is ready to go as well.
Well, that's it, punters. Nothing else really to talk about from the meeting. We're not doing questions this week. It's been a hell of a week over the last, couple of weeks, really, for the end of the carnival. And
it's a hangover review special.
The hangover review special. I'm just having a look at what do we got? What have we got Saturday? There's Cranbourne. Is there no Sandown?
Yeah, there should be, isn't there? What the heck?
Can't see it on the calendar. Can't see it on the calendar.
What the hell's going on there?
Don't know.
So there's nothing. You've got a fillies and mares race with 175,000. That's a nothing. Yeah, so wow. Sale Cup, Cranbourne Cup. The winner of the Sale Cup is that Cranbourne Cup. Yeah, wow, there you go. I didn't even know. I thought there was still one day to go.
Yeah, okay. Well, we probably won't be doing anything then later in the week, which is no skin off either of our noses, I don't think.
After and I'll just corner you we'll corner you in a FaceTime chat or something, and he can ask you his 50 questions he likes to ask you, and we'll just drive you mad.
Might have to start charging for that service, John, I think.
I love it. I love it how he bails you up, and he's always got one more. I think it's great. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. 4 horses in every race.
All right. Hope everyone won over the carnival. If you didn't,
indeed. Back to normal service, of course, with Sydney, and we'll still cover off the Group 1s and 2s if there are any over the carnival. But other than that, thanks for watching.
Cheers, guys. Hang on, I need the outro. Where's the outro? There it is.